We all know his smile, round-faced, dressed in red, with a sack of gifts and a ringing laugh. But there are stories not told to children by the fireplace, stories that old houses whisper, when the garlands go dark and the snow lays down a thick shroud. This story is not about kindness or miracles. It is the tale of a night when the figure known from childhood came with a different intent. Listen closely. Let the silence in the hall become part of the story, for within it lives what I wish to tell you. The town in question was small and forgotten, like an old album with yellowed photographs. Its streets had known the steps of many, the steps of those in a hurry, the steps of the drunk, the steps of the love-struck. But one day, to them was added a step that did not belong to any living person. The snow that winter fell long and evenly, as if someone were diligently covering up tracks. The houses stood swaddled in white cloth, and only the smoke from the chimneys reminded that people still lived inside somewhere. The first trace appeared at a house where no one expected guests, a house with drawn curtains and an empty Christmas tree in the window. In the morning, a small box lay on the doorstep, wrapped in old newspaper. Inside, a piece of cloth smelling of resin and something else that could not be called a scent. No one thought of a connection then. No one knew it was an invitation. He did not come immediately, not when people were awake. He came in that thin border between sleep and waking, when consciousness is still soft and trusting. His silhouette was familiar. Red cloak, white trim, sack slung over his shoulder. But the red was not festive, it was faded, like fabric long kept in a basement. The trim was not fluffy, it was dull, as if covered in ash. He did not laugh. His laugh was not a laugh at all. It was a sound like the cracking of old wood, like the click of a lock being closed forever. When he approached a house, the windows frosted over from the inside, and the glass reflected not a face, but an emptiness, as if someone had cut a hole in the world and was looking through it. He did not knock. Doors opened by themselves, as if the house recognized him and let him in. Inside, he left not gifts, but objects that did not belong to this world. Toys with eyes carved neatly, as if with a knife, photographs with faces erased, little boots filled with snow that did not melt. They said he had rules, and they were simple and cruel. The first rule: he comes where people still believe, not those who laugh at legends, but those who hold belief like a candle in their palms. The second rule: he does not take things, he takes what makes a house a home. The laughter that sounded in the evenings, the voice that called on the phone, the footsteps that returned to the threshold. He collected voids to fill his sack with them. The third rule: the ringing of a bell is not a call to joy, but a signal. Each time its dull ring was heard somewhere in the night, somewhere in the town, a light went out. People would wake to find empty beds, chairs where no one sat, and cups from which no one drank. No one saw it happen. Only traces remained, small, barely noticeable, like fingerprints on glass. One house he visited stood on a hill. An old woman lived there, who had collected toys all her life. She loved them like people, gave them names, fed them with her imagination. One morning, her collection was empty, and on the floor lay a single doll with eyes carved in the shape of stars. The old woman sat in her armchair smiling, but the smile was not hers, it was alien, like a mask. In another house, a family woke to find all the gifts under the tree had turned into small pebbles, warm from recent warmth but devoid of meaning. Dark streaks appeared on the walls, like claw marks, though no one saw claws. The children, who used to sing, fell silent and stared at one spot where a garland once hung. Each house left its own story, and they all converged on one thing. After his visit, an emptiness remained in the house that could not be filled by anything except memory. Fear in the town did not grow all at once. It crept in like frost, which first nips the nose, then seeps into the bones. People tried to explain the disappearances with logic. They moved away, hid, played a prank, but the explanations couldn't withstand simple checks. Beds were warm, cups had lip prints on them, toys bore the imprints of hands no one remembered. With each new disappearance, the ringing of the bell grew closer. Its sound was not bright and joyful, it was muffled, like a blow from deep within the earth. And the louder it sounded, the more empty spaces appeared in the homes. People began to lock their doors, install locks, pray, but the locks would creak, and prayers would lose their words when night fell. One day, in the center of town, on the square where the Christmas tree was usually placed, someone found footprints deep, like from boots, but not human. They went in a circle and ended at the old fountain, where the water had frozen into strange shapes, like little faces stretched in a scream. Then came the night when the whole town gathered by the tree to drive out the fear with light. People held candles, sang old songs, and tried to reclaim their familiar rhythm. Children looked at the lights, and in their eyes still burned that very light for which people had come together. He did not come immediately. First, the wind died down, then the garland lights went out, and the silence became dense like cloth. In that silence, a ringing began, not a single one, but many, as if bells were ringing in different parts of the town simultaneously. The ringing was low and steady, and it brought no joy. It brought anticipation. He appeared in the center of the square, and people saw his silhouette against the dark sky. He stood upright, the sack hanging from his shoulders, and it seemed as if the sack was breathing. His eyes were not visible, but everyone felt that he was looking not at them, but through them, into the depths where memories hide. He raised his hand, and the sound came from the sack, first quiet, then growing louder, child's cry, muffled, as if rising from the depths of a well. People froze. Those who tried to run found the snow under their feet had become sticky, like glue, and their steps sank. Those who tried to scream heard their voices vanish into the void and not return. The sack was not just a sack, it was a vessel, collecting what makes a house a home. There were no gifts inside, there were voices, laughter, scents, habits. It filled not with things, but with moments. And the more moments it absorbed, the lighter it became itself. When he lowered the sack to the ground, a cold burst forth from it, a cold that was not merely temperature. It was the cold of loss, a cold that left not frost on the skin, but emptiness. People felt something within them slipping away, as if someone were removing tiny light bulbs from their chests and placing them in the sack. Some tried to peer inside, but the sack was dark, and in its depths, not faces were reflected, but silhouettes moving slowly, like shadows in an old theater. Those who looked so long began to forget the words to songs they had known since childhood. Those who touched the fabric of the sack lost the memory of their children's names. When the night ended, the town awoke different. Some houses were empty, like boxes without lids. Some families had vanished entirely, leaving behind only smells and echoes. Those who remained tried to live on, but caution settled in their eyes. Like in people who have survived a storm, there were those who decided to fight. They gathered in groups, lit watchfires, sang louder to drown out the ringing. But the ringing did not require volume, it required belief. And the more people believed in miracles, the easier it was for it to feed on that belief. The struggle proved paradoxical. The light and joy meant to protect them became a source of power for the one who had come for them. Others decided to leave. They abandoned the town, taking only the essentials and traveling to places where no one remembered the old legends. But memory is like snow. You can carry it away, but it melts in a new place, and the emptiness stays with those who leave.